On the secluded coast of Scotland, there stands a mansion where no one dares enter. They say that if you look into the hall mirror, you will see something that shouldn't be there. Evelyn Hart, a determined journalist, came looking for answers. But upon crossing the gates of Blackwater Hall, she discovered that some doors should never be opened. And that, once chosen, the Lady of Blackwater never returns her prey. On the rocky coast of Scotland, under a gray sky and biting winds, the American journalist Evelyn Hart arrives in the isolated village of Blackwater. An anonymous letter promised the story that would change her career. It all begins when she sees, in the distance, the shadowy silhouette of a mansion Blackwater Hall known to have been abandoned since a mysterious disappearance in the 1970s. The locals avoid discussing the mansion. An elderly fisherman merely murmurs, "Some doors shouldn't be opened." Intrigued, Evelyn decides to investigate. She discovers that the place once belonged to the Ashford family, who vanished in one winter night. No bodies, no clues, just doors locked from the inside and a table set for dinner. While exploring the archives of the small local newspaper, Evelyn finds an old photograph, the Ashford family posing in front of the mansion. The disturbing detail is a blurred figure, half hidden behind an upper-story window. The face is indistinct, but the feeling of being watched permeates the paper. A resident named Thomas Doyle, a former police officer, offers to help, but with one condition: if you go in there, don't look in the mirror. He doesn't explain why. Evelyn laughs, thinking it's superstition, but makes a mental note. Thomas hands her a rusty key, which he says is the only one that opens the main gate. On Evelyn's first night in the village, the wind howls like a human lament. As she tries to sleep in the inn, she hears footsteps in the hallway. When she opens the door, she finds only an envelope on the floor. Inside, a handwritten note. You don't choose when to leave Blackwater Hall. She does. Determined not to be intimidated, Evelyn wakes early and walks along the narrow road to the mansion. The iron gate creaks open, revealing a garden overgrown with tall grass. The imposing, dark facade seems to watch her. As she sets foot in the foyer, a scent of damp wood and something else almost metallic assails her nostrils. The first room is a grand entrance hall with a dust-covered chandelier. In the center, a huge gilded mirror. Evelyn remembers Thomas's warning and looks away. But out of the corner of her eye, she sees something move in the reflection, too fast to identify. On the second floor, he finds locked doors and hallways that creak under his weight. One of them is ajar. Entering, he sees a child's room frozen in time. Toys scattered about, clothes folded on the bed. Beside the pillow, a diary with the words, "If anyone finds this, run," on the cover. She leafs through the diary. It belonged to Chocolate Ashford, the youngest daughter. The final pages speak of voices coming from the mirror and someone hiding in the tower room. The final entry ends abruptly. Tonight, Mom said she's coming in. A crash echoes downstairs. Evelyn closes her diary and hurries downstairs. The hall mirror is now clean, as if someone had polished it seconds ago. She sees, for the first time, her full reflection. But behind her is a tall woman in a black dress, with a veil covering her face. When Evelyn turns, there is no one there. The ground beneath her feet vibrates slightly, as if something were moving within the walls. As she steps outside, she realizes the main gate is locked again, even with the key. The wind blows harder, and she swears she hears a distant, muffled laugh coming from the direction of the tower. Back in the village, she presses Thomas for answers. He reveals that he worked on the Ashford case, and that the mirror was brought from a monastery in France in the 17th century, along with a legend about the lady who chooses. According to the monks, she appeared to anyone who dared to gaze for too long. Skeptical Evelyn decides to return to the mansion the next day. But that night, something happens. she wakes to the sound of someone whispering her name. On the mirror in the guest house's bedroom, there are handprints, as if someone had touched the inside of the glass. She tries to erase the marks, but realizes they're not on the surface. It's as if they're trapped in her own reflection. A shiver runs down her spine. When she turns off the light, the marks glow faintly, forming distorted words. The next morning, Thomas disappears. His room in the village is ransacked, and on the wall, written in red, is a sentence. She has already chosen. Evelyn feels she has no choice. She must enter the tower. Evelyn returns to the mansion at dusk, Charlotte's diary in her backpack and a flashlight in her hand. The sky seems lower, heavier, as if the storm has been waiting for her. As she enters, she notices the door behind her close by itself. The echo of the sound carries throughout the hall. She heads up a narrow staircase, hidden behind a panel in the hallway. The wood creaks beneath her feet, and the air grows colder as she ascends. At the top, she finds a heavy door, ornately decorated with symbols that resemble the marks of burned candles. Pushing open the door, the flashlight's light illuminates a circular room. In the center, a second mirror, smaller and older, with cracks forming almost organic patterns. On the floor, unlit candles and a faceless doll with a torn dress. She hears a faint scratching sound coming from inside the mirror. Approaching, she notices that the main crack pulsates, as if breathing. A whisper emerges. "You've come, ... finally." The voice is female, but it echoes as if several voices are speaking at once. Evelyn recoils, but something in her reflection changes. The room behind her is empty in the mirror, except for a human shadow standing right next to her. She turns quickly, but finds only cold air. The voice insists, "You have what it takes," to open the door. In her diary, Charlotte mentioned that the real door wasn't in the mansion, but in the mirror. Evelyn, her heart racing, touches the cracked glass. The cold is so intense that her skin stings. The surface yields slightly, like water. Suddenly, the room seems to tilt, and Evelyn is pulled inside. When she opens her eyes, she finds herself in an endless corridor, lit only by black candles. In the distance, the sound of footsteps approaches. The figure that appears is the same woman in the black dress and veil. But now, the veil is lifted, revealing a face that seems made of cracked glass, with shadows moving beneath. "I am the Lady of Blackwater," she says. The woman explains that on the night of her disappearance, the Ashford family made a pact to preserve their wealth, offering one of pure blood to the lady. Something went wrong, and they were all taken. Evelyn feels the shadows around her move, watching. The lady extends her hand, offering an object, a small silver key. "With this, you may leave. But someone must take my place." Evelyn understands. Thomas tried to warn her. Now the choice is hers. As she hesitates, she sees Charlotte Ashford in the background, a pale child, her eyes fixed on her. "Help me," she whispers. Evelyn realizes that if she accepts the exchange, she can free Charlotte. But it means trapping someone else forever. The hallway begins to tremble, and the candles go out one by one. The lady approaches, holding out the key. Evelyn grabs the diary and steps back. She remembers the words written on the cover. "If you find this, run." Ignoring the key, Evelyn throws herself against the cracked mirror, feeling shards tear through her body. The pain is intense, but when she opens her eyes, she's back in the mansion's main hall. The mirror is intact and empty. The main gate is now open. She runs outside, but notices something strange. The village looks different. The houses are older, there are no cars, and the residents look at her suspiciously. A newspaper in a shop window displays the date, November 12, 1974. The same day, the Ashford family disappeared. Evelyn realizes, horrified, that she didn't. In the window, the reflection in the glass shows the Lady of Blackwater standing behind her, smiling. Evelyn feels a sharp chill run up her spine. The voice echoes, "Now, it's your turn to choose." Evelyn steps back, but the faces of the residents around her appear static, as if they were figures trapped in an old photograph. Only their eyes move, following her every gesture. A boy whispers to her, "If you stay until dark, you'll never come back." She tries to leave by the road that leads to the coast, but the path seems to stretch on forever. The further she walks, the thicker the fog grows until it swallows everything. When she looks back, the village is exactly where she started, as if she hadn't walked at all. Back in the village center, an elderly woman approaches. Her eyes are completely black, with no irises. "You are the new guardian. Until the next winter moon," she says, handing him a pocket watch that stopped at 11:47 p.m. Evelyn realizes that this is the exact time recorded in Charlotte's last diary entry. She asks about the girl, but the elderly woman only smiles, showing teeth as sharp as broken glass. She's home, as always. Following instinct, Evelyn returns to the mansion. The gate is open, and now the windows glow with dim lights. Inside, she finds the entire Ashford family sitting at the table, motionless like wax figures. Only Charlotte blinks discreetly at the sight of her. Charlotte slips a note to Evelyn. "The key is still yours. Trade it or keep it." Evelyn feels the pressure of decision mounting. Freeing the girl would mean handing over another soul to the lady. But who would it be? Footsteps echo behind her. Thomas emerges, alive but blank-eyed. "She let me go ... to bring you back." Evelyn understands that he is now the lady's messenger, trapped in an eternal cycle of exchange. The Lady of Blackwater enters the hall, her veil billowing like smoke. The door is open. Choose. Evelyn looks at Charlotte, at Thomas, and at the mirror behind them, where her own reflection smiles to itself. On impulse, Evelyn grabs Charlotte's hand and runs to the mirror, pressing against the crack. A violent force pulls her back, but she doesn't let go. The glass shatters, and a blast of cold envelops them. When she wakes, Evelyn is lying on Blackwater Beach, the sun rising. Charlotte is beside her, but unconscious. The mansion gate in the distance is closed, and the windows are completely dark. Upon returning to the village, she notices that the residents are normal, talking, laughing. No one seems to remember what happened, but in today's newspaper, there's a photo of her. Dated 1974. The caption, "Young woman disappears after entering Blackwater Hall." Charlotte awakens, but her voice is different, older, deeper. "Thank you for freeing me, but you know she's still with you." Evelyn feels something cold touch the back of her neck, like a breath. That night, while sleeping at the inn, Evelyn dreams of the cracked mirror. In the reflection, she sees the Lady of Blackwater caressing her face. "You owe me ... I always collect." When she wakes, her pocket watch reads 11:46 p.m. 1 minute before the fateful hour. Desperate, she decides to flee the village immediately. But as she gets into her rental car, she notices in the rear-view mirror that Charlotte, sitting in the back seat, is watching her with a cold. The road seems normal this time, until Evelyn notices something unsettling. The sea to the left never changes, and the curve of the road repeats like a loop. She realizes she's not leaving. She's just driving in circles within Blackwater. Charlotte begins to sing an ancient song in a language Evelyn doesn't understand. Each verse seems to make the air heavier, and the sky darkens, even though it's daytime. Evelyn understands that the child is no longer just a child. Stopping the car abruptly, she gets out and runs into the woods. The trees are twisted, and among them she sees human shadows, motionless, watching her. One of them moves and whispers, "You're in her place now." Evelyn finds an abandoned cabin. Inside, broken mirrors cover the walls, each showing a different version of her, aged, bloodied, or smiling insanely. In the center, the entire mirror from the tower. The lady appears in the reflection, but not in the real world. Accept ... and you will have peace. Deny ... and the night will never end. Evelyn feels the only way out is to destroy the mirror, but Charlotte's diary said this would only free everyone at once. She lifts a rock and with all her strength smashes it against the glass. A deafening scream echoes, and a wave of icy wind throws her against the wall. When she opens her eyes, she is in the mansion, but surrounded by dozens of cracked glass figures. Each figure is one of the trapped souls. Villagers, travelers, even ancient monks. They all stare at her with empty eyes. The lady walks toward her, holding the silver key. Last chance. Evelyn looks at Charlotte, who now stands beside the lady, smiling. The girl says, "I've already made my choice. Now it's your turn." Evelyn realizes she's been tricked. Charlotte never wanted to be saved, only freed to rule in the lady's place. The ground begins to crack, revealing a dark void below. The glass figures begin to fall, shattering upon impact. The lady offers the key again. Evelyn, having no other options, takes it. Immediately, everything goes silent. She's back on the beach, alone. Her pocket watch reads midnight. Looking out to sea, she sees the perfect reflection of the mansion floating on the water, even with nothing on the horizon. Years later, Evelyn publishes a book about Blackwater Hall. It sells thousands of copies, but never reveals the whole truth. In every interview, he avoids discussing mirrors. He always carries his pocket watch now, permanently displaying 11:47 p.m. One night, during a book signing, a woman in a black dress and veil approaches. She says nothing, simply placing a silver key on the table. Evelyn knows the cycle has begun again. When she arrives home, she finds her own reflection in the living room mirror, smiling at her before disappearing. On the glass, the message written in handprints: "The door is open." That night, she dreams of the tower again. But this time, she's alone inside, with the mirror intact and uncracked. When she approaches, she sees she's on the other side of the glass, looking at the real world. Panic takes over. She screams, but her voice doesn't come out. Outside, another version of herself closes the curtains, obscuring her vision. Evelyn realizes she's now just another trapped reflection. In the real world, the new Evelyn continues her life as normal, but occasionally, when passing a mirror, her smile stretches a little wider than it should, and in her eyes there's a cold, cutting glint, like glass under the light. Meanwhile, inside the mirror, the real Evelyn observes other faces trapped in the glass surfaces around her. They all wait patiently for the next exchange. Time there doesn't follow rules. Day and night blend together, and sometimes Evelyn sees fragments of the real world, people combing their hair, storefronts, car windows. None of them know they're being watched. One day, she notices a crack growing in the corner of the mirror. On the other side, a curious young woman approaches, touching the glass. Evelyn knows this is her only chance, and that to get out, she need to do what Charlotte did. She smiles at the girl and whispers, "Come in." The surface trembles, and Evelyn feels the warmth of the real world again. Behind her, the young woman screams as she is pulled into the reflection, replacing her. Evelyn breathes the fresh, free air. But as she passes a shop window, she sees the Lady of Blackwater watching her in the reflection with a satisfied smile. The cycle hasn't been broken.